If you're a small employer, or even just work in a small business, you'll have lots on your plate, and you might be struggling to stay on top of all the 2026 and 2027 employment law changes in Great Britain. But two really important ones that you should know about are already in force, and those are the new employment law enforcement body, the Fair Work Agency, and the new holiday record keeping requirement. In this video, I'm joined by Juliet Irving, Director of HR Operations at Impact HR, to break down what the Fair Work Agency is, what the new holiday record keeping requirement involves, what both changes mean in practice for small businesses, and to answer some of the most common questions other small businesses are asking so you can feel more confident about what you need to do to stay compliant. Okay, so let's start with the new holiday record keeping requirement first. Juliet, what is this new requirement?
The requirement for keeping holiday records is really one of the first significant changes that we are seeing from the new Fair Work Agency. So from April 2026, employers are under a legal duty to keep adequate holiday and holiday pay records for up to 6 years. And this is to show that employers have complied with the working time regulations. That means keeping records of holiday taken, any holiday carried over, holiday pay, any payments in lieu of when taking holiday when employment ends too. Where holiday pay includes elements such as overtime, commission, or bonuses, then employers should also be able to show those calculations. And to demonstrate this, employers must show that records are accurate and accessible, which may be through a HR system library. And the records are important because the Fair Work Agency will have powers to inspect records, and failing to keep adequate holiday records is going to be something that can lead to financial penalties.
Okay, so that is one of kind of the new duties that's come into effect, but one of the big changes is the new enforcement body, the Fair Work Agency. So what is it about? What is that?
Well, the Fair Work Agency launched on the 7th of April 2026, and it's a new government body bringing enforcement of key employment rights all into one place. And it focuses on areas such as minimum wage, holiday pay, employment agency, situations, labour exploitation, and record keeping. The Fair Work Agency can inspect workplaces, they can request evidence, issue fines to employers for non-compliance, they can be named businesses too. They can also take cases to tribunal on behalf of employees, and also legally enforce changes in behaviour.
It's interesting because I think it used to be like three enforcement bodies, right? And it's now been consolidated into one. So just probably going to have a more tight watch on everything now.
Yeah.
Okay, so two really big changes. What do small businesses actually need to do to stay compliant with the Fair Work Agency and meet that new holiday record keeping requirement?
For businesses, this is really about how organised they are with their data and record keeping, just so that they are able to provide the evidence should it be requested by the Fair Work Agency. Sometimes the biggest pressure points can be everyday issues, like holiday calculations that might be done differently if they're being done by different people in the department, records that might not be held all in one central place, or having older versions of employment contracts on file, or even down to outdated settings in your payroll system. So smaller businesses may feel the impact of this more because HR and payroll tasks are often split up into managers or office staff or even the business owners themselves. So the employer should be thinking about whether they could confidently show their workings out and calculations if that's to produce records or explain their calculations by the Fair Work Agency. And they should also be ensuring that they store all of their employee and holiday records together in one single place for that 6-year period.
Yeah, perfect. That's kind of, I suppose, where digital systems really help. Rather than storing things as paper files or in spreadsheets or on your desktop, having an online system, whether that's HR software or something else, is definitely the way forward for businesses that are struggling with this, I think. So, next, let's take a look at some of the most frequently asked questions we're hearing from Breathe customers and through our network of Breathe HR consultant partners and their clients. So the first one I've got here is, can the Fair Work Agency investigate or contact a business even if no employee has made a formal complaint?
Yes. So this is one of the most significant changes that employers do need to be aware of. The Fair Work Agency will have the power to investigate employers proactively where it may believe that there is some non-compliance with employment rights. So that means an investigation could be triggered by maybe intelligence from other government bodies, for example, through HMRC, trade unions, whistleblowing, or even patterns that can be across a particular sector. So up to now, most businesses only really dealt with employment law issues once an employee raised a claim through ACAS or a tribunal. But going forward, employers need to assume that regulators may ask to see evidence of compliance even when no complaint has been made. So the takeaway from this is that businesses should make sure that all of their contracts, their payroll records, holiday records, and policies are all in good order now. It is much easier to demonstrate compliance from the outset than try to recreate records or explain gaps once the Fair Work agencies were already there as questions.
Yeah, it's an interesting move. There's regulatory bodies for things like health and safety. You've got the HSE, and they can investigate whenever they want. So it's really a move towards that with employment law and HR processes, which it seems mad that wasn't kind of in place before. But yeah, it's a really interesting shift. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
That's it, yeah, it's certainly a shift. And like I say, yeah, we kind of then question why this only coming in now, but it's now in place from April, so we can wait to see how it works in practice.
Okay, next question. So this is one that I've definitely seen some confusion around myself. Do businesses need 6 years of old holiday records straight away, or does the duty apply from April 2026 onwards?
Yeah, so employers are not expected to produce 6 years worth of historical holiday records immediately from April 2026. The 6-year retention period starts from that point. In practice, employers should ensure that they have their systems in place now to retain employment records, and over time, those records then should build up to the full 6-year period. Having said that, though, employers also should not wait until the last minute. Take action now to review how your holiday is being recorded, how your holiday pay is being calculated, and check just whether those records would stand up to scrutiny if the Fair Work agency did request them. So if there are gaps in your current processes, it's much easier to fix them beforehand rather than once an inspection has begun. So there's no requirement to create 6 years of historic records overnight, but there is the clear expectation that employers start keeping required records from the commencement of that main duty.
Amazing, thank you. Great to have some clarity on that one, definitely. So next question is, what counts as adequate holiday records in practice, and can a spreadsheet still be enough?
Okay, so the law doesn't require one specific format for what adequate holiday records would look like. So this may be a HM system or it may be a spreadsheet. However, a spreadsheet can get out of date really quickly. They might also be changed or accidentally deleted. So you might want a system that is more secure, reliable, and accessible so it can easily evidence your data, like a HR system, for example, Breathe, as that is specifically set up for smaller organisations.
Yeah, I think spreadsheets are great when you first start a small businesses, but as soon as you start growing a little bit, it can get a little bit chaotic and hard to handle, I can imagine.
Yes, yeah. And we see it too often where somebody will accidentally delete the spreadsheet.
Yeah. Okay, great. So I've got a question here around the holiday record keeping requirement, and which workers does that actually cover? Is it just full-time employees or part-time, casual, irregular hours too?
Well, the requirement to keep holiday records, it does apply to full-time and part-time employees, but it also extends to those casual workers, 0 hours workers, and irregular hours workers as well. So essentially, if someone is legally entitled to their statutory holiday and holiday pay, then they should be keeping records that demonstrate those rights have been correctly calculated and have been provided to them. For employers with irregular hours or part-year workers, this is particularly important because holiday entitlement and holiday pay calculations can just be more complex. So the records should show how much holiday has been accrued and taken and how holiday pay has been calculated.
Perfect. That's really good to know. Thank you. I've got another question now about the Fair Work Agency. So what are the biggest mistakes or weak spots that we expect the Fair Work Agency to pick up on in smaller businesses?
Yeah, well, one of the biggest weak spots that the Fair Work Agency is likely to pick up on is going to be for or incomplete record keeping or no record keeping at all. So missing or inconsistent holiday records, unclear working time records, gaps in data that's going to make it difficult to show how pay is actually being calculated. Another potential weak spot is how holiday pay is actually calculated. So particularly for those part-time, casual or irregular hours workers, it's important to ensure that the calculations are accurate and reflect their variable hours. Also, taking into account the additional payments like overtime or commission that might be applicable. Another potential weak spot might be informal practices that employers carry out or those that are not documented in a policy. For example, smaller employers might rely on verbal agreements that they've got with staff and their own holiday records and pay. But from an enforcement perspective, that's going to become a problem because then it's hard to evidence compliance if that's ever challenged, and it just opens up more possibilities for inconsistencies.
Yeah, definitely. Really useful. I'm sure lots of people watching will find that incredibly useful. Amazing. So you spoke a bit about how important it will be to have all your records in place for the Fair Work Agency. So if the Fair Work Agency got in touch, what kind of documents or evidence might a small business be expected to produce?
Yeah, well, if the Fair Work Agency made contact with a small business, then the expectation could generally be that the employer can produce clear, organised data showing compliance with their employment obligations, and also to produce it quite quickly. The key documents that we usually include records showing that what has been paid, how pay has been calculated, including basic pay, sick pay, overtime, and any other variable elements of pay as well. And alongside that, employers should be then providing holiday records showing their entitlement, accrual, holiday taken, as well as how holiday pay has been calculated. They may also ask for employment contracts and statements of terms, because these are the documents that set out the agreed working arrangements and help explain how entitlements are determined. So policies are also important, particularly those around holiday and sick pay, or any procedures relating to work and time for absence as well. The Fair Work Agency may also want to see work and time records and any supporting evidence that demonstrate, again, how those records are calculated and maintained. And I suppose the key point to small businesses is not just having these documents somewhere, but being able to retrieve them easily and quickly and show a consistent link between what the law is requiring of them and also what the business's policies say to what's actually being paid and recorded in practice.
Okay, great. So with the new holiday record keeping requirement and the new Fair Work Agency and all these kind of documents and evidence that we might need to be able to provide, are there actual changes and updates that employers need to be making to documents like contracts, policies, or processes even?
Well, there does need to be alignment between what's in the contract, what's in the policy, and what is actually happening day to day throughout these processes. Contracts in written terms should clearly reflect how holiday is agreed, for example, how holiday pay is calculated, and how distant workers treated. If the contracts are out of date or too vague, then it can create potential inconsistencies that then become a problem later. So for contracts, whilst no specific changes, it's useful to update them, just to review them to ensure they are reflecting what your current practice is actually. Policies are important too, particularly around holiday, working time, and these should clearly explain how the business applies the rules and what employees should expect as well. But the policies alone are not enough. They should be there to support the consistent internal processes. So again, review them. And this all includes really how managers actually work alongside what's in the terms and what's in your policies, how the records are updated in real time, how people make the calculations. So if what happens in practice doesn't match up with what's written down, if there's a mismatch, then that's exactly the kind of issue that the Fair Work Agency is likely to pick up on.
Okay, so final question. What should small businesses prioritise first if they're getting their employment basics in order?
Okay, yeah, it's so important to get the fundamentals in place first rather than try and fix everything all at once. So set out a few points of priority. So the first one is to have accurate contracts and written terms in place from the outset. So every worker should have clear documentation setting out their status, their pay, hours, holiday entitlement, and how their key terms are calculated. The second priority is holiday records and payment systems around that. So organisations need to be confident that their pay is being calculated correctly and that holiday entitlement is being tracked properly in real time. Next is for employers to make sure that they have at least a basic set of clear policies, especially around holiday absence and workplace behaviours and expectations. So these don't need to be overly complex, but they do need to reflect what actually happens in practice and also be accessible to staff. And then finally, once those foundations are in place, the focus should shift to consistency. So making sure that managers understand the rules and apply them in the same way day to day and across teams and departments. So really, the priority order is getting contracts in place, payroll, holiday systems, policies, and then that consistent implementation.
Thank you so much, Juliet. Let's wrap up then. The Fair Work Agency and holiday record keeping duty are both already in force as of April 2026. For small businesses, this means you need to get your basics right. Accurate holiday records, correct holiday pay, clear contracts, up-to-date policies, and confidence that you could show you're working if you were ever asked to. There are lots of other changes that have already taken effect in 2026, and more to come throughout 2026 and 2027 as well. So I'd recommend, if you haven't already, checking out the Employment Law Hub on Breathe's website. It is linked in the description below. So there we have plenty of free resources and information about all the changes to help you out. And if you'd like dedicated HR support or expert advice, you can email Juliet at juliet.irving@impacthr.co.uk or visit the Impact HR website. Again, all linked in the description below. Thank you so much.